In the Scottish Highlands, a surname was never just a label. It could tell you who your people followed, where they lived, what land they defended, or which glen first held the family name. And when the Highlands began to empty, those names traveled farther than the mountains ever could. They crossed oceans, survived famine, war, exile, and reinvention. And by the time the 19th century had finished breaking old clan life apart, Highland surnames were scattered across Scotland, Ireland, Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and beyond. That is how a few rugged names from a remote corner of the world ended up threading through millions of family trees. Some are still tied to clan memory. Some are famous because of rebels, poets, generals, or explorers. Others are so common that people wear them without ever knowing they began beside a loch shore, in a river valley, or below a stone fortress in the north of Scotland. And if your family name is one of them, there is a good chance your ancestry carries a story of survival, migration, loyalty, or stubborn endurance. Here are 15 Highland surnames that traveled much farther than the place that gave them birth. If you hear MacDonald, you are hearing one of the great names of the Highlands. The clan was powerful, sprawling, and often difficult to control, with branches spread across the Hebrides, the western coast, and the rough country beyond. Their name means son of Donald, but the real force behind it was political as much as personal. That power brought greatness, but also ruin. The clan split into rival branches. It fought kings, challenged neighbors, and endured the violence that came when the old order collapsed. After Culloden and the suppression of Highland culture, many MacDonalds were forced outward by poverty and upheaval. Some left as soldiers, some as tenants, some as emigrants chasing land that no longer existed at home. Today, MacDonald is one of the most recognizable Scottish surnames in the world. If it appears in your family tree, you may be looking at a line that once belonged to a kingdom in all but name. The Mackenzies came from the Northwest Highlands, where the land is dramatic, thinly populated, and unforgiving. Their name is usually traced to son of coinage or Kenneth, and they grew from local strength into wider influence through marriage, landholding, and alliance. They were known for intelligence as much as force. One of the clan's best-known figures, Sir George Mackenzie, became a famous and feared legal mind in 17th century Scotland. That helped the name endure in records long after clan warfare faded. But the wider story is more ordinary and more tragic. Tenants moved, estates changed hands, and the old Highland pattern broke apart under economic pressure. Mackenzie is now found across the English-speaking world. In some families, it marks direct clan descent. In others, it survives through branches that left the Highlands generations ago and never returned. MacLeod is tied to the islands and the sea, especially Skye and Lewis. The name means son of Leod, and the clan's identity has always carried a strong sense of place. The MacLeods were island chiefs, living where land and water were equally dangerous, and where isolation could be both a shield and a trap. Their history includes feuds, shifting loyalties, and the long struggle to keep a distinct identity in a region constantly reshaped by outside power. As the clan system weakened, many MacLeods adapted. Some became merchants, ministers, soldiers, or settlers in distant colonies. The name went where the people went. Because of that, MacLeod appears today far beyond the Hebrides. It still carries the salt air of Western Scotland, even when it belongs to a family thousands of miles away. Campbell is one of the most powerful names in Scottish history, but it is not the most obvious Highland name to outsiders. The clan rose through strategy, royal service, and a sharp eye for opportunity. Their power became closely tied to Argyll in the Western Highlands, where they often acted for the crown. The Campbells were often on the winning side of history, which did not make them beloved. Their expansion came at the expense of rivals, and their name became linked with betrayal in some Highland memories. Yet the clan's success also meant that Campbell descendants were everywhere, in law, politics, the church, the military, and the growing British world overseas. If Campbell is in your family tree, you may have ancestors tied not only to Highland land, but to the wider machinery of Scotland's rise into the modern age. The Stuarts began as a family of royal servants, and that is one of the most remarkable origins of any great surname in Europe. The name comes from their office as stewards, and eventually the family rose so high that it ruled Scotland and then Britain itself. In the Highlands, Stuart branches spread into many lines, some noble and some modest. That is what makes Stuart such a powerful surname. It sits at the crossing point of monarchy and everyday life. Some Stuart descendants can trace roots to aristocratic branches. Others descend from ordinary Highland families who adopted or inherited the name through local connections and marriage. When Highland people emigrated, Stuart went with them in huge numbers. It became one of those surnames that seems almost everywhere in Scotland's diaspora, as if the royal echo never quite faded. The Frasers are one of those names that can sound polished and dangerous at the same time. They had strong roots in the north and east of Scotland and became known through landholding and military fame. The clan's history includes battle, loyalty, and tragedy, especially in Jacobite Scotland. One of the most famous Frasers, Simon Fraser, Lord Lovat, became notorious for treachery and was eventually executed in 1747. His life is the kind of Highland story that contains ambition, survival, betrayal, and fatal miscalculation all at once. But the name also endured through ordinary families, not just chiefs, and through descendants who moved into North America and beyond. Today, Fraser is widely recognized and often associated with Scottish heritage, but behind the polished sound lies a history full of hard choices and dangerous loyalties. Cameron is another surname that carries the force of Highland identity. The clan was rooted in Lochaber, a region known for rough country and fierce independence. The name is often linked to the Gaelic for a crooked nose, a reminder that many surnames began as descriptions before becoming clan banners. The Camerons were famous for martial strength and for their attachment to the Jacobite cause. They stood where they believed honor required them to stand, even when the cost was ruinous. After the defeats that changed the Highlands forever, many Camerons left home or were pushed outward by poverty and transformation. If your family name is Cameron, your ancestors may have lived close to one of the most fiercely remembered landscapes in Scotland. The name still carries that hard-edged Highland energy, even when it appears on another continent. Ross is both a place and a family name, which is one reason it spread so successfully. The surname comes from the region of Ross in the north of Scotland, and it reflects a deeply local identity that later became portable. Families named Ross were tied to the land, but the name was simple enough to move well as people migrated. The Rosses took part in the wider Highland world of chiefs, crofters, soldiers, and emigrants. Some branches joined major political and military shifts in Scotland, while others lived quiet lives that only later became visible through records. When people left the Highlands, Ross traveled with them because it was short, strong, and easy to carry across borders. Today it is one of the most widespread Highland-rooted surnames. If it appears in your ancestry, it may be a sign of a family that moved early and often. The Murrays have long roots in the north and northeast, and their name is associated with territory, power, and adaptation. The surname is often linked to Moray, though the spelling changed over time. Like many Highland families, the Murrays were not one line but a network of branches, with different fortunes in different places. Some Murray families became landowners or military figures. Others were absorbed into broader local communities and left their marks more quietly. What makes Murray important in a Highland context is how widely the name spread without losing its Scottish identity. It could appear in noble circles, in parish records, and later in emigrant lists all at once. That flexibility helped the name survive long after old clan boundaries stopped mattering. Murray is a surname that moved well, and that made it one of the Highland names most likely to reach a modern family tree. The Grants were closely tied to Strathspey, a place that helped define their identity. Their history includes service, landholding, and a strong connection to the Central Highlands. The clan's fortunes were built carefully, often by balancing loyalty and practical survival in a region where alliances could change quickly. Unlike some of the more explosive Highland names, Grant often suggests steadiness. That does not mean the story was dull. The family endured conflict, shifted with the times, and sent out branches into military and colonial service. Some Grant descendants became prominent in the British Empire, while others crossed the Atlantic and disappeared into the wider world of Scottish diaspora. Grant is one of those surnames that can sound almost modern while still carrying the deep echo of Highland geography. If it is in your family line, it may point to ancestors who were both rooted and adaptable. The Munros were associated with the Northern Highlands, especially around Ross-shire. Their name is often traced to a river mouth or a regional origin, and it became a clan identity known for courage and local loyalty. Munro is a name that has always felt close to the edge of the map. The clan's history includes warfare, service, and survival in a harsh region where distance mattered. Like many Highland families, the Munros were transformed by the collapse of the Old Order and later by emigration. That shift sent the surname far outside Scotland, where it took root in new communities and new professions. Munro is not one of the loudest Highland surnames, but it is one of the most durable. It survives because families carried it carefully, one generation at a time, through changes that might have erased a weaker name. The Macleans were a major family of the Inner Hebrides, especially associated with Mull. Their name means son of Gillian, and they built a reputation around island power, seafaring, and fierce independence. Island clans often had to fight not just enemies, but geography itself. Their history includes conflicts with neighboring clans and devastating losses, but also the ability to endure. Like many Highland surnames, MacLean survived by branching outward when the old island economy could no longer hold people in place. Soldiers, ministers, farmers, and emigrants all carried the name abroad. If MacLean is in your tree, your ancestors may have come from a world of sea roads, stone keeps, and hard-won loyalties. It is a name that still sounds like weather over water. MacGregor is one of the most dramatic Highland surnames because the clan's history was marked by persecution. The MacGregors were associated with Glenstray and neighboring Highland lands, but their fortunes were shattered when the name itself was suppressed. At times, people were forced to use other surnames just to survive. That makes the survival of MacGregor especially remarkable. Some descendants preserved the name in secret. Others restored it when political conditions changed. This is not just a clan story. It is a story of identity under pressure, of a family name nearly erased and then recovered. Because of that history, MacGregor carries unusual emotional weight. If the surname appears in your ancestry, it may represent not only Highland origins, but a lineage that endured official hostility and still found its way into the future. The Sinclairs are often associated with the north of Scotland and with strong Norse-Scottish connections, which gives the name a different flavor from some of the more purely Gaelic surnames. They were tied to Caithness and other northern regions where cultural blending was part of everyday life. The name itself traveled through noble military and local lines. Sinclair history includes castles, loyalties, and influence extending well beyond the Highlands. Some branches became prominent in broader Scottish society, while others remained more local. The result is a surname that appears in many forms and in many places, often with a strong northern footprint. If Sinclair is in your family tree, you may be looking at a line that reflects the meeting point of Highland, Lowland, and Norse worlds. It is a surname that tells you Scotland was never one kind of place. Macpherson means son of the parson, which already tells you something unusual. This was a Highland name with an origin in clerical association, but it became fully woven into clan life. The Macphersons were part of the Confederation of Clan Shannon and became known for loyalty, conflict, and the stubborn defense of identity. Their story includes battles, shifting alliances, and the familiar Highland pattern of survival through change. As the centuries moved on, Macpherson families spread into military service, trade, and emigration. The name traveled well because it was distinctive, and because families carried it with pride. Macpherson is one of those surnames that reminds you Highland identity was never simple. It could contain religion, warfare, kinship, and migration all at once. That is why surnames matter in family history. They are not proof of nobility, and they do not guarantee a direct line to a clan chief. but they do preserve memory. They preserve the shape of a journey. The easiest place to begin is with records, not legends. Parish registers, census returns, gravestones, wills, and land documents can tell you whether your surname stayed rooted in the Highlands or moved out through the wider Scottish diaspora. Spelling changes matter too. MacDonald may appear as MacDonald. Mackenzie may become Mackenzie. Macpherson may be shortened or altered in migration records. The same family can hide behind several versions of the same name. That is why the search can feel so personal. You are not only looking for a surname, you are looking for the moment when a family crossed from one world into another. Maybe it was a child born in a glen before the clearances. Maybe it was a soldier who never came home. Maybe it was an emigrant who took a boat across the Atlantic and made a new life under the same old name. And that is the real reason these Highland surnames still matter. They are not relics, they are surviving signals. They tell us that the Highlands were never just a place on a map. They were a source of people, names, losses, and departures that reshaped the world far beyond Scotland itself. If one of these surnames lives in your family tree, then part of that long Highland story may still be living there too.